And so when you said you created a model, so it was on an Excel or you were doing it on Python or R?
No, no. So it was completely on Excel because the fun fact is I didn't even know Python before I joined PwC. So when I joined for
Okay.
my internship, that's where I started learning picking. So I knew Python, like Python data science and machine learning concepts pretty. I mean, in my
Okay.
third and fourth year, but actually started learning more and more depth, like how in a professional starting software developers code. So that's where I realized there's a lot of learning curve I still need to learn. Yeah, so yeah, initially I started there as an intern in the credit risk model space. But like how consulting work is, like you have to work on a lot of different projects, and that's where I got introduced to market risk. Like they told me that, okay, market. So my the funny conversion was with my manager was, so he asked me, do you know what is market risk? I was like, not really. I don't have a good idea. And that's where I, because I was an engineer, I didn't come from a finance background.
Somebody wants to get into that model development team.
Mhm.
Okay. What skill sets we need, and generally from what background people go there. Hello, guys. I hope everybody is doing good. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become a better version of themselves. And I also help students preparing for competitive exams like CFA, FRM, and SCR. And as a part of that journey, we also speak to a lot of people in the industry, trying to understand what exactly is there in a finance career, how they can grow in a finance career. Okay, so today we have with us Mehul, and he's going to be walking us through his journey of working in the quant side of finance. So, Mehul, thank you very much for taking out time. And if you can give a brief to the audience about different roles that you started out with.
Sure. So first of all, thanks Ganesh Pai for inviting me on your podcast. So I'll give a quick introduction about myself. So hi everyone. My name is Mehul Mehta. I was born and brought up in Jodhpur, Rajasthan. So like soon after I took science in 11th and 12th, and then of course as we pursue engineering, so I went to VIT University Vellore to pursue my electronics engineering. So what happened was, like during my engineering days, I was working on a lot of things, and that's where I realized finance is one such area which I'm really
Okay.
interested in. So what happened was, during my I believe like last year, I was working, I guess in third and fourth year, I was working on a lot of market risk and quant related projects, basically
Okay.
just reading books and replicating those. And then I've got a opportunity to intern at PwC, and it was a
Mhm.
6 month intern in the risk and regulatory department. So
Okay.
thereafter I got converted to a full time offer. So at PwC I worked for close to 3 years. And then
Okay.
like every time when you work for a company for so long, you always think about the next plan, and that's where I pursued my masters, thinking to pursue it. And then I came to US to pursue my masters in quantitative finance. And
Okay.
soon after graduation, I joined a commercial bank in south part of America. And then right now I'm working at a brokerage house in US. So that's a quick intro about my.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful, Mehul. Now, I'll just go to the first point that you talked about, that when you were in college, you were
Yep.
doing some projects related to finance. So, if
Yep.
you can give a brief, like, how did you manage to get those projects, or was it on your own? What was your thought process during that period?
Yeah, so what really happened was, I was very active in talking to my seniors. Like I saw a lot of
Mhm.
seniors going to US and doing like this new degree called Masters in Financial Engineering. so
Right.
so I was very interested, like what is this quant finance or financial engineering, what is this new domain altogether, because never heard about it. So I
Hmm.
spoke to a lot of seniors in US, and this senior told me that, okay, read this book, which is Options, Futures and Derivatives by John C. Hull,
John
and
C.
start,
Hall, yes.
yeah, and start replicating all the projects which is highlighted, or let's say all the models which are highlighted in there. So back then we didn't have much resources on YouTube, or so I started reading a lot of articles and I started reading the book
Okay.
itself. And that's where I felt like it gave me a good kickstart about, okay, what is derivatives, and what are Greeks and what are different models. And that's how I actually started in the field.
And so when you said you created a model, so it was on an Excel or you were doing it on Python or R?
No, no. So it was completely on Excel because the fun fact is I didn't even know Python before I joined PwC. So when I joined for
Okay.
my internship, that's where I started learning picking. So I knew Python, like Python data science and machine learning concepts pretty. I mean, in my third
Okay.
and fourth year, but actually started learning more and more depth, like how in a professional starting software developers code. So that's where I realized there's a lot of learning curve I still need to learn. Yeah, so
Okay. Okay. And so because of this interest, you moved towards that internship of PwC because you
yeah.
wanted to do something in finance, right?
Yeah.
And what was the internship and what was your role over there?
So internship actually, so I had a lot of machine learning projects in my resume. So what really happened was this risk and regulatory team, they wanted someone who can work on credit risk models, PD, LGD, and EAT models. So
Okay.
I already had a lot of logistic regression based models in my resume, and they really liked that experience. So they asked me for an interview. Interview went great, and they said, okay, in at least in the first few months, we really want you to work on credit risk models. So I was good
Okay.
with churning of data using Python. I was really great with it, working with big data sets. So, and back then in the
Okay.
team, people were mostly working with Excel. So I was trying to bridge that technical gap, I would say.
Okay.
So that was like my first project at the internship.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And you mentioned about machine learning projects. So those were the projects that you did on your own,
Yeah. So
which
I
was
I
there on your CV.
Yeah, yeah, bhai. So I did all the projects on my own only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And from that, so you went to masters. And what was the degree that you were doing in the masters? Was it the same financial engineering?
So yeah, yeah, bhai. So even before going to masters, I would like to cover like what I was actually working at PwC. So
Yes, yes.
initially I started there as an intern in the credit risk model space. But like how
Hmm.
consulting work is, like you have to work on a lot of different projects, and that's where I
Hmm.
got introduced to market risk. Like they told me that, okay, market. So my the funny conversion was with my manager was, so he asked me, do you know what is market risk? I was like, not really, I don't have a good idea. And that's why, because I was an engineer, I didn't come from a finance background. So that's why he
Right.
guided me. He told me, okay, this is what market risk is, and gave me a couple of books to read. And that's where I guess this author named Alexander, I was reading his value at risk book, because our core
Acha.
project was value at risk modeling back then at PwC. So read that book, and
Okay.
I mean, that's where a lot of market risk and quant modeling experience came into picture. And I love that modeling piece, really love that, and that's when I decided to pursue a master's.
And that master's was in financial engineering.
Yeah, master's was in financial engineering.
Financial. Okay, okay. So you completed, so it was in US. Now also you're in US.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
completed the masters and after that you joined a commercial bank, right? So what was the role over there?
So what happens is, so when I was in a master's, I feel like there are a couple of I got like six job offers from in US. So I had a
Okay.
lot of different roles. I could have gone to market risk, credit risk, but the role that I went to this commercial bank, that was a pure technical modeling role. They were building in-house model. So it was more
Hmm.
focused on building time series models, and regression based models, and some piece of machine learning, which was not initially told to me, but because of the
Okay.
expertise I had, they also told that, okay, you can, if you have some spare time, can you work on a side project on machine learning, which eventually turned into a big project. So but most of
Okay.
my working experience was building, so something like this. Okay, so bank has to, so back in 2007-8, we had this financial crisis in US, and after that there were a lot of regulations that came into picture. One such
Right.
regulation was CCAR and DFAST, which is nothing but stress testing your
Scenario.
portfolios. And to stress
Right.
test your portfolios, we need to have a quantitative models, because we basically stress test those quantitative models. So now the question is like how to build this model. So that's where quant
Hmm.
actually comes into picture, because we are someone who will build the model. So I'll give you one simple example so that it's easy for the audience to connect. So we were trying to
Right.
predict the mortgage balances for the bank. Now
Hmm.
what happens is, The trick is to use macroeconomic parameters to build all such models. So I remember we
Okay.
used couple of, I guess we were given more than 100 plus macroeconomic variables, and we were told like to consider two or four variables and build a model out of that. So we
Okay.
took like new home sales, I guess housing price index, mortgage rate. So we built like a seri max model around that. you know so that's how,
Okay.
that's how the modeling, that's how that's like, that were the kind of models I actually built for the firm.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. And then from there, you have moved to a
So yeah,
brokerage part.
right now my work is more focused on the fixed income modeling side of it. I can't say much on that, but yeah, it's more focused on fixed
Okay.
income modeling.
Now, for the layman, what does a model validation team does? If you can
What is
explain.
the model validation, you said?
Validation team does.
Okay, so okay, I'll break this into more easier steps. So what? So there are different teams. One is the model development team, and one is the model validation team. Let's say I'm in the development team, and Ganesh Bhai is in the model validation team. So what happens is,
Right.
let's say I need to predict the bank's balance, okay, using a
Hmm.
quantitative model. So what I will do is, using my expertise and using the data that I have, I'll build some kind of model. It can be a time series based model, linear regression based model, and eventually I'll test it, back test it, and I'll build, let's say I
Hmm.
build a model. Okay. So what happens
Right.
is, the model development team will build a model. Then I'll pass it to Ganesh Bhai, who is in the model validation team. Now what Ganesh Bhai will check is whether the data is correct or not. That's the most important thing, because a lot of times
Okay.
there are a lot of flaws inside the data, and if the data is not good, you cannot make a good model out of that. So that's like the
Okay.
first step, like understanding like if the model development team has taken the right data or not.
Okay.
Second thing Ganesh bhai will check is whether the model is correct or not. So Ganesh bhai will basically
Hmm.
check in and out of the model, what are the calculations which have been done in the model, and whether the outcome of the model, does that make sense or not. Also,
Okay.
one most important thing that the validation team does is, they will check in different scenarios how the model is performing, because it should not happen that, if let's say something like to
Okay.
2020, right, the COVID period came in, right,
Huh.
it should not happen that the model is not performing the way it has to. So that's what validation team makes sure. It gives different scenarios to the model and check how the model is, predicting the balances or anything out of like anything like that. So the main goal
Okay.
of model validation team member is to validate the work that the development team has done. That's it.
So when you were saying, when we generally say risk model,
Mhm.
okay, or model developer, so it is basically the first team, right? The model development team or a risk methodology team, correct?
Yeah.
I'm asking this from the audience perspective because they will be able to easily bifurcate that these are the two broader teams that are there. Now, if suppose somebody wants to get into that model development team,
Mhm.
okay, what skill sets we need, and generally from what background people go there.
Okay, okay. So what happens is, Ganesh bhai, because model development happens in different areas altogether. So I remember
Okay.
back at PwC, I was working on derivative pricing models. At
Hmm.
Regions, I was working on time series and regression based modeling projects. And right now, I work on the fixed income modeling side of it. So every field, every subject that we study, be it derivatives, fixed income, risk management, even a lot of risk models I've worked on. So I would say every subject has different skill set being required. But if you ask me in overall, let's say if someone is a fresher who is trying to break into any quant related jobs, right? So I would say
Hmm.
Python is important. Knowledge of
Okay.
derivatives is important. Knowledge of risk management is important. Knowledge of fixed income is important. Data science and machine learning are important, because a lot of times you are given big data set and you need to work on the data set, and it cannot be done in Excel because it's pretty big. So that's why students should learn Python and data science. So I would say these are, like, at least the starting package, I would say.
Right. Right. And somebody, if somebody is joining in the model validation team,
Hmm.
okay, do they also need these kind of high level knowledge, or
Yeah.
say a commerce graduate can also sit over there in that team? Is it possible for them?
So by I would say definitely they require same kind of skill set, because if I'm in the
Okay.
development team, if I'm developing a model, you are in the validation team. You also should have the same skill set that I have. That's how you will validate my work.
Okay.
So definitely a very same skill set I would say is required for both the team members. And let's say if someone from commerce comes into picture, right?
Hmm.
So I feel like the image in India is such that they want to hire only from IITs, at least that's what
Right.
I'm hearing it out. So
Okay.
yeah, so I would say start with market risk, because transitioning from market risk into quant finance is like easier. So someone, let's say
Easy.
if someone is from commerce, right, I would say try
Hmm.
pursuing FRM level 1, level 2, and then transition into quant finance, because the transition will be much smoother and much easier as compared to directly cracking into, because there's no official master's degree or at least certification in India. So that's what
Right.
makes this whole thing more difficult, I would say.
Any one good advice that you have received in your career till now that has helped you to change your career?
A lot of good advices. One such advices. So I always used to think, why company is not hiring me? What, I'm a very by nature, I work very hard on whatever I have, whatever thing I'm working on or whatever is allotted to me. So I always
Hmm.
used to think, why company is not hiring me? And this is back in engineering days, because I really wanted to get like good packages. So I always used to think, why company is not hiring me? What is lacking in me which my friend has, or my batchmate has, which is not in me? So
Right.
that's where I realized most important thing, which was told to me, is make sure whatever you are applying in have a lot of projects in those areas. So let's say if
Hmm.
I'm applying in risk, let's say market risk, then value at risk and expected shortfall is very important project. Derivatives is very important, like something on maybe let's say pricing options, and let's say analyzing Greeks, delta, gamma, rho, theta, vega. Then you can have one project on the fixed income side, let's say duration and convexity, something on those
Right.
lines. So I feel like whatever area you are targeting, if you are targeting market risk roles, if you are targeting quant finance roles, make sure to
Hmm.
get some knowledge and then work on certain projects, and I can guarantee you will get a job. Because issue is, lot of students even they reach out to me on LinkedIn, and they say that, oh, I'm trying into quant related roles and I'm not getting into it, or I'm trying into risk related
Right.
roles, I'm not getting into it. And I say, okay, can you pass me your resume? And these all are engineers, okay, so they don't have any prior experience in risk. And
Right.
I see all
Right.
electronics projects, all mechanical projects, and I see you won't get anything with that. Even the interview will not give you, I mean, the recruiter will not give you an interview. So I feel,
Right.
if you really want to crack a good job, I would say please make sure get the subject matter expertise, work on a lot of projects. That is the only way to get like good job offers, at least in India, is what I feel.
Okay. Any more advices that has helped you? Please share. I mean, that would be really helpful for the audience.
I mean, yeah, I mean, definitely. So one such advice which was given to me was, talk to a lot of people. Like, so Ganesh Bhai he's one of the best instructor for FRM, right? I would say if you are a student, sit with him, understand from him. Like if you pursue FRM, or if you pursue CFA, if you pursue any other quant finance degrees, let's say, what
Hmm.
is the career path? you know because a lot of times students, they just blindly do what others are doing. And I was
Right.
never such kid, I was never that guy, who will just do whatever others know. I really want to understand, like, where this
Hmm.
career will take. Let's say if you are a student, right? If you have, let's say, if you crack FRM level 1, FRM level 2, understand what is the salary package you will get as a student.
Hmm.
So that's something like this can actually be like only the professors or let's say instructors can help you. And believe me, education can change your life. This is I'm telling you because it has changed my life. I was in India, so I got a manager role in US in just four with complete with a 4.5 years of work ex. I just had 4.5 years of work ex, and no one in India would have given me a manager role. No one, because in
Right.
India you really should have 6 to 7 years of work experience. Then only they'll give you a manager role, and that
Right.
too, Ganesh bhai, in US sometimes they also do not consider your India's experience. So how did I
Right.
get a manager role? Only because I had the knowledge and the skill set. So I would say
Hmm.
just focus on education. I mean, sometimes people think, oh, क्या होता है, क्या करेगा पढ़ के, but I feel जब तक कुछ नहीं हो रहा तब तक पढ़ते रहो.
हाँ, बहुत बार कैसे होता है ना कि लॉट ऑफ पीपल, when you talk about salaries na, to this is the trend that I see. A lot of students, they feel okay, if I'm doing say CFA level 1, I want 5 lakh rupees. They are not thinking what is a long term vision.
Hmm.
Like you mentioned, I want to get into a particular role. So if I want to do equity research, okay, I will do CFA, right? I will do CFA, I'll do my research reports, I'll keep on working in that area, because that is how it will help me to land into good roles and good salary.
Right.
Expecting something at the start, okay, I know a job is important, but expecting that job is going to be very highly paid, I think so that is wrong.
It's
Okay,
more
you
like a
have to develop a
compounding
skill.
effect.
Ha, yes, compounding it. This is the right word. The
Yeah.
effort that you're putting right now in the initial few years of your career will give you tremendous benefit in terms of the, the career path that you're choosing. So definitely, that is what I think the students should also understand. But the market is growing in India. Also, a lot of people are getting skilled for these levels. So if you look at quant finance, also
Hmm.
the amount of discussion you see right now
Hmm.
happening in the market on YouTube, on LinkedIn is growing. So
Right.
people are getting aware about these things. So definitely opportunities are there. Uh, one final question, which from the engineering days that you had spent. Okay,
Hmm.
suppose you go back in time, you start as an engineer. How what different what different things you would have done now, and how it would have impacted your career?
भाई, so गणेश भाई, I'll tell you one thing. I was from starting, okay, मैं बहुत मेहनती था. I was working crazy. I'm working like late nights, early morning. So I recently
Okay.
uploaded a video. वो मैंने 2:30 morning में I woke up at 2:30 in the morning. I studied for 4 hours, and then I started my office. And मैं हमेशा से ऐसे ही था. So I would not change even a single thing. I'll tell you why. Because मेरा स्टार्टिंग से ही आई वॉज वेरी हार्ड वर्किंग, एंड आई फील आज मैं जहाँ
Okay.
हूँ, इट्स बिकॉज ऑफ द हार्ड वर्क ऑफ सो मेनी ईयर्स. एंड जो
Hmm.
कंपाउंडिंग का इफेक्ट है, राइट, लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स आई स्टिल रिमेंबर, जैसे आई स्टडीड lot of mathematics subjects, calculus, linear algebra, probability theory, numerical methods. एंड सब लोग ये बोलते थे, कहाँ काम आता है, कहाँ काम आता है. आई वाज लाइक, बात तो सही है, काम तो नहीं आ रहा है अभी, पर आई वाज स्टिल गिविंग माय फुल एफर्ट कि नहीं यार, अभी पढ़ते अच्छे से पढ़ते हैं, अभी जो एक ही, क्योंकि पेरेंट्स आल्सो दे वर पुटिंग इन लॉट ऑफ मनी. एंड आई फेल्ट, इफ आई फील कि इफ एनी स्टूडेंट अगर वो पढ़ाई ढंग से नहीं कर रहा है, एंड उनके पेरेंट्स बहुत पैसा उन पे डाल रहे एजुकेशन पे, दे आर नॉट डूइंग इनजस्टिस इफ दे आर नॉट स्टडिंग हार्ड. आई डेफिनेटली फील दैट.
Hmm.
बट मैं हमेशा से बहुत पढ़ाई कर रहा था, तो वो जो मैंने पढ़ा मैथमेटिक्स, वो मेरे को मेरे मास्टर्स में इतना काम आया, आई कैन नॉट टेल यू. तो यू नेवर नो, जो आपने आज पढ़ाई की है वो कल कब काम आ जाओ, कैसे काम आ जाए.
Right.
सो आई वुड से जस्ट वर्क हार्ड. मैं कह रहा हूँ कुछ भी करो, पढ़ाई करनी है पढ़ाई करो, बिजनेस करना है बिजनेस करो, पर जो भी करो, हार्ड, पुट इन लाइक क्रेजी आवर्स. दैट्स माय एडवाइस. एंड पर्सनली भाई, आई वुड नॉट चेंज एनीथिंग.
So do you want to say you have to put 70 hours, 90 hours per week?
भाई मतलब भाई
There are a
मतलब
lot of people in India. I mean, I don't know if you're aware. Infosys chairman made a statement that you have to give 70 hours per week. Then I think so. Somebody L&T chairman made 90 hours, and then Elon Musk said 120 hours. ऐसा बहुत कुछ हो रहा है तो
आई वुड से लाइक, ऐसा मेरा तो कुछ नहीं है, मतलब मैं तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं बोलता. आई फील कि अगर कुछ चीज पढ़ रहे हो तो उसको अच्छे से पढ़ो, उसको मजे लेके
yes,
पढ़ो.
yes.
जैसे अगर कोई टॉपिक भी पढ़ रहे हो कि यार फॉरवर्ड्स और फ्यूचर्स है, जैसे बहुत डेरिवेटिव्स का पन्ना जो स्टार्टिंग ही वैसे ही होता है, तो समझो कि
Hmm.
यार ये फ्यूचर्स आया क्यों था या फॉरवर्ड्स आए क्यों थे, दोनों में डिफरेंसेस क्या है. एंड फिर आता है
Right.
ऑप्शंस, ऑप्शंस कैसे अलग है इन दोनों से। तो आई फील वो जो क्यूरियोसिटी होती है, दैट इज समथिंग यू शुड ऑलवेज हैव। एंड क्योंकि
Hmm.
फाइनेंस एक ऐसी फील्ड है जो एवर चेंज, मतलब मार्केट का डायनामिक्स कितना चेंज होता है, यू वुड जस्ट लव इट अगर इफ यू रियली फाइंड कि फैसिनेट, अगर चीज़ों से फैसिनेट हो तो आई वुड से पढ़ते रहो यार, मतलब देयर इज नो एंड। मैं आई स्टडी सो मच एवरी डे टिल डेट, आई स्टडी, अभी मैं एक एएलएम की बुक पढ़ रहा हूँ, इट्स लाइक एसेट लायबिलिटी मैनेजमेंट। इट्स इट
Yes, yes.
इट्स दिस बुक, इतना मोटा वो बुक है, एंड आई स्टडी लाइक 3-4 hours डेली, बट आई वुड से ऐसा कुछ फिक्स आवर्स नहीं है भाई, बट अब स्टूडेंट लाइफ में
Okay.
वही करना है भाई, मैं तो अभी प्रोफेशनल लाइफ
नहीं
में
नहीं,
हूँ।
डेफिनेटली। और ये आपने सही पॉइंट बोली कि आप इफ यू आर इन द फील्ड ऑफ फाइनेंस, आप कंटिन्यूसली पढ़ना है। राइट, आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कि मैंने एक चीज खत्म कर दी तो अब आई विल जस्ट रिलैक्स, बिकॉज मार्केट चेंज हो रहा है, लोग जो स्किल सेट लेके आ रहे हैं मार्केट में वो चेंज हो रहा है। तो आपको भी अपने आप को डेवलप करते ही रहना पड़ेगा। सो डेफिनेटली दिस इज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट। बट वंडरफुल मेहुल, ये जो कॉन्वर्जेशन अभी आपके साथ हुआ है बहुत हेल्पफुल होगा लॉट ऑफ पीपल, स्पेशली इंजीनियर्स, बिकॉज दे आर ऑल्सो नाउ मूविंग इनटू फाइनेंस। और आपका जो जर्नी रहा है कि हाउ यू स्टार्टेड द इनिशियल पार्ट दैट यू मेंशन कि आई पिक्ड अप जॉन सी हाल, मैंने पढ़ना स्टार्ट किया, उसके प्रोजेक्ट्स को अप्लाई करना स्टार्ट किया और वो मेरे सीवीज में आना स्टार्ट हुआ।
या
राइट, मैंने खुद के प्रोजेक्ट्स किए, ये जो मिसिंग पॉइंट है। बिकॉज अभी मैं किसी को ये जो आप बोल रहे हो, मैं किसी को अगर एडवाइस करता हूँ तो उनका नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन होता है कि प्रोजेक्ट्स कहाँ हैं। सो व्हाट इज द सी मेन थिंग क्या है कि आपको ये, दिस इज माय थॉट प्रोसेस, ऑब्वियसली इट कैन बी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम समबडी, कि आपको अपना रास्ता निकालना पड़ता है। आप वेट नहीं कर सकते हो कि कोई आपको कोई प्रोजेक्ट देगा या कोई कोई अ, हो रहा है, कोई वर्कशॉप हो रहा है वहां जाके आप ज्वाइन करो। ऐसा कभी वर्कआउट नहीं होता है।
राइट।
आपको अपना रास्ता निकालना पड़ेगा, द वे यू डिड इट।
भाई मैं
राइट।
तो हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि टॉक टू पीपल हु हैव मेड इट, आई एम
हाँ।
बीइंग ऑनेस्ट। मैंने सो जॉन सी आई विल सेंड यू अ स्क्रीनशॉट ओके आफ्टर दिस। सो आई रिसेंटली लॉन्च माय बुक ऑन लाइक व्हिच इज लाइक कॉन फाइनेंस इंटरव्यू गाइड। सो मैंने उस बुक
हम्म।
के लिए आई मैसेज जॉन सी हल दैट आई एम राइटिंग दिस बुक, क्या कि आई वांट यू टू को ऑथर। मैंने बुक पूरा रेडी कर दिया, अब आपको कुछ मेहनत नहीं करना, आपको बस पढ़ना है। तो ही मैसेज मी कि ही इज ऑलमोस्ट रिटायर्ड एंड ही डजंट वांट टू टेक एनी any further projects. So what I feel is कि आप लोगों से बात करो, ज्यादा से ज्यादा इग्नोर
वाओ।
ही करेंगे, and some
हाँ।
people will share so many epic things जो which will become, मतलब for me it was like John Searle से start करो पढ़ना, that was like best advice I would have gotten. So yeah.
एंड जॉन सी हल से आपसे बात बात भी हुई आपकी?
मेरी
दैट
मेरी
इज
लिंक्डइन पे उसको मैंने उनको मैसेज भेजा कि आई एम अ ग्रेट एडमायर, दैट्स बिकॉज ऑफ यू आई स्टार्टेड इनटू कॉन्ट फाइनेंस, एंड आई रोट हिम अ प्रीटी लॉन्ग मैसेज एंड दैट्स वेयर आई राइट एंड आई रोट कि मैंने अपनी बुक लॉन्च कर रहा हूँ एंड आई रियली वांट यू टू बी को ऑथर, बट हालांकि उन्होंने मना कर दिया, आई अंडरस्टैंड बिकॉज ही इज एट रिटायरमेंट, बट या जस्ट रीच आउट टू पीपल आई वुड से।
डेफिनेटली, ये जो पॉइंट है ना बहुत हेल्प करता है, बिकॉज बहुत बार हम खुद को ही रिजेक्ट कर देते हैं
या
जो जरूरी नहीं है। लेट पीपल से नो, दैट्स ओके, आप यू मूव ऑन। बिकॉज देखिए, किसी ने आपको हेल्प करने का ठेका तो नहीं लिया
या
है। राइट। तो ना बोलेंगे लोग आपको डेफिनेटली, लेकिन आपकी हिम्मत होनी चाहिए कि नहीं ठीक है, आई विल मूव टू समबडी एल्स विल हेल्प मी।
या
इट इज दैट सिंपल। Right? So
या
wonderful, Mehul. I mean, this conversation is going to be really, really helpful for a lot of students, especially the engineers who want to enter into finance and the quant side. So thank you very much, Mehul, for taking out time.
thank you Ganesh bhai for having me, thank you so much.